Hi everyone, welcome back to another weekly episode in the series Conversations with Shelley. Today is April 10th, so it's a Friday, and we all know what happens on a Friday. On a Friday, we dump into our random rambles. Now, for those of you who are new here joining me for the first time, I want to say welcome. Thank you for joining. And for those of you who've been here for a little while, with me through these Friday sessions, as I would like to call them. Welcome back. Thank you always for sticking and staying. Now, just to give you context as to what my random rambles are here on Conversations with Shelley, my random rambles are my weekly round of the mill topics that I take from pretty much my friend circle, persons that interact with throughout the week, and they may come across some, interesting, thought-provoking topics that I normally would put some thought into, but for some strange reason, I just decided I'm just going to give you something that is not scripted, where everything that I'm about to say, it's something that is real, something that you can talk about, something that most persons talk about in their close circles because of the real truth that they want to get out but can't. But in this space we dive into life, relationships, mental health, self-growth, professional spaces, anything that would normally make you uncomfortable, or should I say the uncomfortable truths that we don't say out loud. Here I keep it raw, I keep it honest, and I keep it very relatable. Now, as I always say, there are topics that, having relayed them in the moment, unfiltered as they are, I may have to take them back, and I may have to, dial back, pedal back, apologize as the case may be. Because when I sit into the silence of it, I realize that yes, I may have not taken it from a different vantage point or from a different perspective. Albeit, if this is something that you're interested in, I ask always to like, share, and subscribe. All right. So this week, of course, I have my little notes just to walk me through, the process as to what we're going to be talking about in these random rambles. Now, I want to dive into something at the onset that is quite serious, and it came across my social media space and pretty much in my everyday conversations, particularly so as an attorney. um this was something that I thought was very important for me to speak about this week, and to speak about not from the point of view of anything, um concretizing legalism, because the truth about it is this is not the space for that kind of a discussion, right? But I wanted to have a serious talk with you on this topic, and the topic that I'm speaking of is domestic violence. Now, this week particular, there has been two instances, one within Jamaica and one within the United States. And the one that happened in Jamaica was quite jarring. I saw it on social media, where this JDF soldier unalived his girlfriend, and he ended up taking himself in to the police station, and he was pretty much begging them to take his life. And for me, it was very jarring. For me, it was something that, for the first time, I thought to myself, this is how life seems almost just not worthy. People just, and I don't even know if worthy is the word that I should use, but the reality of it is that we don't take seriously somebody's life, regardless of the circumstance that we find ourselves in. And when we find ourselves into those dark places where we have to think, or something comes over us that causes us to unalive a particular person in our lives, save and except for circumstances of self defense, which, as I said, we're not getting into those instances. It is quite jarring for me that somebody could be so upset and so provoked that we've had these instances just come about. We've recently had an incident in the Jamaican court system um, with, a former member of parliament who also unalived his wife on the basis of what he called provocation. Now, these things have become quite normalized in our society. And for me, it is certainly something that is of great concern. And when I look at it just within the very small culture that we have as Jamaicans, it is something that is quite, as I said, it's quite jarring and it is quite scary. But then when I zoomed out the lens that I'm looking through, and I look a little bit beyond the shores that I reside, and I go into places that, again, you just can't understand the level at which domestic violence is just so, great. And this happened in the instance in Coral Springs with Nancy Bowen, whose husband likewise unalived her, again, for reasons that, regardless of being outside of a self defense, I can't see the rational rhyme or reason. So, my random ramble topic this week, as serious as it is just to have an understanding. And I'm going to segue into um, mental health, which is my second random ramble. Again, another serious topic to discuss. But I wanted to just look at domestic violence, and I wanted to raise a couple of things, that as women and as men, because men do go through domestic violence situations as well, let us not exclude them from this topic. But certainly, we need to be aware, we need to be mindful of situations and scenarios that may present themselves that may become, one that is violent and may cause us to um, lose our lives or be um, severely injured by, the persons who claim to love us. Now, we will never know what will happen when we're in any scenario. But I want to just raise here some of the telltale signs, some of what I call red flags, that are noteworthy and things that you should not pass without going, you know, at the very least to have a review of it when you see them, if not with your own self, with someone that you can trust. So I'm going to raise a couple of the telltale signs or red flags that will allow you to be aware or at least alert when you're in a situation that could potentially become violent. So if you're in a scenario where you're always feeling anxious, you're in a scenario with your spouse, and there's always this feeling of anxiety that overcomes you, and you're feeling more anxious than happy. You have more of those instances or those moments than you do have moments of joy and pleasure. That's a telltale sign. That's a red flag. That's something in this particular union, this particular situation is not particularly the best for you to be in. Because love does not leave us anxious. That's certainly not what love does. Yeah. So be mindful of those instances where you're constantly feeling anxious or uneasy or uncomfortable in your relationship or your situationships, as the case may be. Another telltale sign is communication. Is your communication with your partner or your spouse leaving you more often than not in a situation or case of an argument, meaning you're not just having everyday conversations that are happening. And each time that you're having a conversation, it turns into a full on argument where temperature is rising, things are being said that can lead to provoking or provocation, as the case may be. If you're in situations where general everyday conversations, why you don't take that up? Or why you don't move that? Or can you do this a little bit differently? And if those everyday conversations that are as a result of difference in maybe how we were brought up or maybe how we were, trained, lead to a full on argument where persons' temperature is rising and persons are just saying just about anything to one another. If those things are happening more often than not, that's a situation that you need to remove yourself from. And it may mean removing yourself permanently. Yeah? Another red flag or another telltale sign is when you have personality switching, you know? So if somebody who is normally happy just suddenly starts to get angry for everything, that's a telltale sign that something is not right. And it may lead to instances that you may regret. So examine and review the changes in personality of persons because usually it it stems from something. Persons at a particular age and a particular stage in their lives, they don't have personality switches. At certain stage in your life, I heard a friend say today, at 35, she's set in her ways. What you see is what you get. So the reality of it is, if you're at a particular age and you've grown and you've developed beyond, you know, your teenage years or your adolescent years, and all of a sudden your personality is changing so drastically that you're suddenly almost becoming unrecognizable to your other half or to your spouse, and that may be something that is a red flag or something for you to be alerted to. Now, I want to be clear in what I'm saying. Now, we're not talking about personality changes that exudes growth because change is the only thing that is constant, right? So we're not talking about those changes. We're talking about shifts in personality that leaves the person utterly unrecognizable. And those are things that we're talking about that need to be going up, with your antennas, and you need to be mindful of those things. Then there's always this buzzword of persons, gaslighting you, meaning something is happening and they somehow make it seem like it's not, or what you're thinking is not the reality. Now, if that is happening and it is happening more often than not, that is a telltale sign or a red flag that that scenario may lead to some circumstance or some instance that you may need to remove yourself from. Yeah. Then there's always this idea as well about control. Control, and in most cases, control disguised as care and love. Yeah. A lot of instances, a lot of circumstances. People misinterpret and misunderstand control for somebody caring for them. Now, we're grown, and I do believe that we should at the very least understand when we are being controlled. Now, when you're being controlled in any scenario, is when you're not able to have a voice. And it doesn't mean that the person is shutting you down in a violent or dominating kind of a way, because it can be very soft. The control can be very unassuming, and that is when the mistake is made that it is for care and love. So you have to be mindful of when somebody is trying to take away your voice, take away who you are as an individual. Yeah. And that is when you can make that clear distinction that this is control taking place and not care or love. Now, if those things turn up in your relationships, again, I will say to you, be mindful, open up that eye that you would normally squint, hoping that you would see something different. Because it's just a matter of time. It's only a matter of time and opportunity that will create a domestic violent situation. And lastly, I want to leave another that is very much a telltale, a red flag that most of us don't even realize. And this is when you find yourself in a space, in a relationship, in a place where you're losing yourself. You're losing yourself without any real cause, rhyme, or reason. And that person is just causing you to be chipped away. You're just slowly being chipped away. And that is a branch of a red flag in a relationship that may be so toxic that you may, in as I said, in most instances than not, need to take yourself out of. So for me, I understand that when you're in something so deep, sometimes we're blinded. Sometimes we don't have on the things that are indicating to us that something is not right. And we tend to get tunnel vision. And sometimes, as I said, we really ignore the things that are glaring. For whatever reason, we ignore them. But let me tell you, once you have life, all of the things that appear to you to be blinding you, or all the things that appear to you to be reasons why you're not seeing or thinking clearly, can all be obtained or, you know, gotten back. You can always with life get those things back. But when you're not here, and you're not here because you were blinded by the house or the car or the life that you think, I can't live this life without this particular person. I am telling you, with life, all of that can be obtained, and you can always get them back with drive and determination. So do not allow any situation or any scenario to be so paramount in your world that you're willing to stay in a situation that is clearly toxic and is clearly evidencing the red flags that I've just mentioned. And that for me is my random ramble, my serious thought on it. But I want to tell you, as I always say, for me and my household, I am never blinded. I make a conscious effort and conscious decisions not to be blinded by anything that glitters and shines. And I don't know if that is something that everybody is capable of, but I certainly have made it a duty of mine to not be taken in by the things that will sink me in. Yeah? And sink me in so deep that I may just be 6 feet under. That's my random ramble number 1. Now I want to go into random ramble number 2, and I want to talk about this idea of, do do we really find that people love, like, care for us because of us, or are the people in our lives in love with who they think we are or who we are, and not just who we are as persons? And this particular topic came to me recently, um, when I was talking with a friend of mine, and I realized that every time I engage with her, she's always trying to take me for something. No, I became aware and more so, you know, clear as to who she is because she's never present just for me. She's present when there's something to be had. And it's not that I didn't see it, it's not that it wasn't something that was obvious to me. But the thing about me is I go through stages of life with people, with places, and I usually look for an instance. Then I look for a pattern, and then I clearly identify the trend. Mr. Laws, you know, right? So I will always evaluate things on those three prongs. The instant something happens, I'll say, does she care for me, or is she here for the connections, the networking, you know, the life that she presumes I have to offer? Marking up people, no don't know me not have what for offer, but everything is comparative, yeah? And comparing her life to mine, she may think that there's something to be had, right? So I look at the instance, then I look at whether a pattern is developing. Is she always as available when she thinks there's something to obtain? And then if I evaluate the instance and the pattern and it now becomes a trend, now remember a trend is something that is just it just dead. You can't do nothing about it. At this point in time, it is what it is. That's when you know that this particular individual is not here because they truly love and adore you, but they're here because of the idea of you. Now, I'm gonna make this a little bit broader than what I noticed in this particular friend. And by the way, I had a conversation with her because that's how I am, yeah. If I value you, because if I don't value you, I'm gonna just ignore you so till you go into oblivion. But if I value and I think there is something to be had, I will either have a conversation with you and see what's your thought process from my observation, because maybe I'm observing you incorrectly, and maybe you can say no, that's not me, you're assessing me wrongly. So I give you the opportunity to at least do that. But on a general scale, some of the things that people will love you for the idea of you and not for you is when they will be around you for the potential that they think you have. Oh, she have the potential to take me places. With her drive, her tenacity, and with her stick-to-itiveness, she going carry me. Me just have a ride pan for her back. Yeah? And I'm going to share a scenario with you. I have a friend as well. She's in the insurance business. And insurance business is a very hard business to be in because you don't really, you have to pay yourself. Yeah? And she's always telling me about a friend of hers that always want to be around her, not because she's a star insurance agent, because she's a star. Yeah, she's a star. But she was relaying to me that this friend of hers don't want to be around her to be, to learn from her and to get mentorship from her. Because if persons are around you for those reasons, then and you think that they love the idea of you, that may be a fallacy. It just may be that they love you, and because they love you, they adore you and admire you for your personality that you have. But when she assessed and she says, I don't think this person wants to be around me because of me, and the drive that I have. She wants to be around me because it will allow her to ride on my coattail, and she is in love with the idea of who I am, not who I am. Yeah. So that is kind of what we need to be mindful of when we have our friend circles, even in our relationships. Evaluate from the instance, the pattern, and the trend. If the person loves you just for you or the idea of you, whether it's your potential, whether it's your appearance, whether it's your networking, whether it's your background and where you're coming from, your family, whatever it is, evaluate the instance, the pattern, and the trend. And that's my random ramble number two. Now, those are my two serious random rambles. I was gonna mention the mental health, but I think I'm gonna leave that for another time because I need to make this fun. I need to ease you into your weekend with some jokes and frolics, right? So here is me now. I'm flipping the script. I'm you know becoming the what you call it down here, the bipolar, self-diagnosed bipolar person that I am. Now let us talk about my third random random topic. This idea of somebody being a friend to my enemy. Now, in recent times, I have thought about this because sometimes I wonder to myself, how does someone look you into the face, say that you're their friend, while they are friends to your enemy? Father God, let me tell you, no, make it make sense. Make it make sense that my friend is gonna come to me and tell me, say, she's a friend of my enemy, and me must still remain friend with her? You must be mad. You got to be joking. So I had a scenario where I was no longer a friend to that particular individual. And I have a friend that, for whatever reason, because me not really care whatever reason you want a friend, me enemy fine. But me doesn't make you know, say, if me evaluate you and realize, say, you are a friend to my enemy, there's no way under the sun, the moon, the planets, and the stars, me and you are going to be friends. Can you know what that tell me, say? At some point in time, what I got to talk about? At some point in time, when I have to talk about me, when I ask Christ, me I tell you, when I have to talk about me. And the mere fact that you are willing to be friend to my enemy, what does that say about you? What does that say about you? Means that you and my enemy have things in common, which means that me can't have you around me. Because if we were more in common and we had more things in commonality, then my enemy that suddenly become my enemy would that be your enemy too? Because you'd have said, boy, Shelly, with personality, click. So it means that if you are a friend of mine that start to friend my enemy, it means that you're closer in personality, trait, behavior pattern as my enemy. And me, because me observe that, me I go tell you, say, go on over there, so go deal with my enemy. Because don't bother come over here. Don't bother come over here, because me now go see you, me now go smell you, and me now go even consider your existence. Your dust. You understand what I say to you? Dust. So beg you no do. Anybody wanna have an space where claim say una and them a friend while them busy. Sit down with no enemy. Me not even telling them put a one eye upon them. Me telling them put two. Put two eye upon them. Two. And make sure so una understand which part of the world una relegate them to. I buy. That's all them forget. Me no know how people wicked so. I can't talk about say. And yeah, you can't friend me girl. Can't friend me guy. Uno cannot friend me for not friend me. My enemy and uno supposed to bex. Uno supposed to bex with my enemy if my enemy become my enemy. Me not even know how somebody could have even stand up and in the middle and tell me about say them neutral. Oh, you feel neutral? Is it anybody we can't pick side? Uno careful of them. Anybody, I mean I say this. Me not think me gonna take this back. Me never say this no a way if you said me gonna apologize for it at some point in time. Anybody wanna have an on a life but can't pick a team and pick a side, afraid of them. There cannot be no such thing. My opinion, me stand firm in it, me no business. There cannot be such a thing as a neutral position. There's no Switzerland here. You have to pick a side with me. And I ask you, and I tell you, you have to pick a side. No, if we're not friends and we're just associates or, workmates or whatever, me no business you want. Cause you're not my friend. So you can talk to my enemy. You can do anything you want to do because you're not my friend. So I need to make that distinction clear as well. When I say my friend, I do mean my friend. If you are a co-worker or you are a person that passes every now and again in my life, and I suddenly fall out with a friend and you friend that friend, me no care. Because you never have no consequence to me in the first place. You can go and go kick dust and rocks with the girl or the guy. Me no give up. But just if me class you as a friend and you ever do that, remember, you can't come back over your son. No dear. Me never give you the leverage to come back over in my world. Dust. D-U-S-T. Dust. No, I also random number number 3. Random number number 4. No, I want to. I don't know if I get in trouble for this. But anyway, because I'm not sure, I'm not gonna even recite it. But I was scrolling through um social media as I very infrequently do. And I came across a lady who was speaking about women in this generation and how women of this generation have become a science project. And she was very clear when she was making it, defining it as a science project, on account of the fact that the women of today are, in her view, now remember, this is not my view. My view don't come yet. I'm just laying the foundation. The women in her view, she says, of this generation, they are displaying a level of classlessness. They are displaying a level of embarrassment, low level women. And she was very passionate about the shift in culture. When we look at our women, and for whatever reason, they are not being seen as mothers of the earth. We are looking at new generational women as a bunch of classless, embarrassing, low level individuals. Remember, as she has said, and not me, right? But I'm not ready for my opinion yet. I'm just laying the foundation. And it brought me back to thinking of how women now are presenting themselves in the world. And it automatically brought me back to Maya Angelou's poem, Phenomenal Woman. And as I said, I don't know how much of it I can recite. But to know that we have no more of those phenomenal women residing, such that those low class women that this person spoke about is more prevalent than the phenomenal women of the world scares me. It scares me to the point where I I had to just think about what is now going to be the next 20, 30 years from now. When women are going to be so callous and so carefree and so lacking in self worth that our world as we know it would have now been so degenerated that we are not going to even be able to recognize that there is such a thing called female. And I'm very serious and strong about that. Because what we have seen in today's society is a lot of social media presence of women where it's no longer being a case of accepting strong value systems and using those to guide our world as we know it. Instead, what we are seeing is persons mistaking confidence for likes, persons doing the most for attention, persons not building character, not building strength of being a woman. That you seemingly think that what we're looking at is now just a thing. And it is scary. I was driving home today and I saw two ladies walking on the road and it was raining. And just their attire in and of itself made me question whether or not they have a friend, a foe, or a mirror. And I said to myself, good God, Father, grace, have mercy. Then somebody in a for them yard, for them household, couldn't tell them, say, hi, go now go look so. Somebody in a them world couldn't put a mirror up to them face and say, look here, look how you look up on the road. Where's the value that you put on yourself? And let me tell you something. They were very proud walking on the road. They were very proud displaying all of the things that makes you wonder who is it that they were around? Who is it that they grew up with? And I'm not going to pretend as if everybody comes from that place where they will know better. But at what point in time are you going to see the stares, see the raised eyebrows, see the questioning look on other people's face in this day and realize that that is not it, girl? That is not it. When are we going to take back and claim back being a phenomenal woman when respect for self was paramount? I am, I can't even begin to tell you how disappointed I am with this generation of women. This generation of women. And the fact that they have made the female species in a science project. Complete science project. Where people now have to wonder what's next. Ladies, this is a call to action and a call for us to change the narrative that is out there about women in this generation. You're hearing people refer to women as butter ears girl. Where did we get off when people are talking to a woman and I refer to her as girl and butter ears and scrimmage? No, me know a lot of them not gonna know them something. But I have been in spaces and hear men and other women refer to the female of the species in such degrading ways that me no know. Me no know. Me really concerned. Me concerned. And me know say I'm not me alone. Me know I'm not me alone. So let us save Let us save this generation. Let us see if we can save the generation of women. And let us have a call to action where we are putting back some value and some morals into who we are. You just turn on the TikToky thing and the way some women talk about themselves. There's one girl on there that sometimes me used to talk about herself and me and go, Jesus, mercy, Father divine. How, who abuse, who damage she? Make she come here and do that to herself. In the name of what? Let me tell you. Oh my gosh. You just need to just turn on the TikToky and you see what I'm talking about. Ladies, please. If you don't value yourself, who will? And when these men or these whatever say and do things to you because you have not turned up in the world worthy of respect, worthy of dignity, worthy of pride, who is going to respect you? I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what random ramble I might know, but yes. And finally, this one I got from a very good friend of mine. I don't think I should call her name because I may extrapolate it into something that will now, affix to her with certainty. But I'll just say today she brought this to me. And it's not really a topic, it's more like a statement. And the statement is, why do people refuse to do things that they consider to be above them? And she raised it because something happened to her, you know, and it made me and her kind of sit within a space where we want to understand why you have some people who think that certain things are below them. Let me tell you something. On the way up in life, you never know what is going to happen that's going to knock you down. Now, I am a perfect example of life knocking down. And for those who know, you know. I'm not going to talk it here. Maybe in a story time. But there were instances in my life where I was way up there, so I was up there, humbly up there, not braggadocious and boasting anyway. But life just have a way of changing, just changing on us. And we find ourselves somewhere that we never thought we would have been. And if you enter the world with this mentality that certain things are below you, you are going to find yourselves in scenarios and in spaces where you're going to be, for want of a better word, workless. Because when real life happens, and life is very impartial, it doesn't pick or choose who it drops on the, you know, on the floor. It happens. It's just life. It's the imperfection of humanity. But if you're going to put yourself in a position because you're not at the top thinking that, hey, listen, me can't sweep the floor, me can't wash out my plate them in the sink, me can't write one letter. And I'm talking about, let us say, for example, you're in a professional space and you have a particular persons in that space that feel like because they carry a particular title, they know if you wash plate in the sink, in the kitchenette, they mustn't make a phone call to somebody because making a phone call is beneath them. Or they may not want to draft a document because they are not a secretary. They never come here to do secretary work. And it goes on and on because they are of the opinion that they are more grander to them that makes these tasks something that they should not do. Now, I want to tell those persons or those individuals who have that mindset that you don't know what tomorrow will bring. So, you see, if you're there somewhere and you see that you don't have no help and you use the plates in the sink, or you may have to rinse out the work um the workplace toilet scenario, get it done. It doesn't make you any less or any more of a human being. As a matter of fact, it probably makes you more of a human being. But to think that it is beneath you, that need to stop. That need to stop. Yeah? So those are my random rambles for this week. I thought these things were very important to say, and as much as I would have wanted to put a little bit of humor to them, they're really sometimes they're just serious topics that I just have to say them for what they are and allow you to put some thought into it yourself and do an audit of your own space and see, those scenarios that you can change by just being, as I always say, kind, considerate, mindful of the other persons that are within your space. Yeah? And on that note, I want to say welcome to the weekend and have yourself a restful, relaxing Friday. Take care until I see you next week on another episode of Random Rambles.